The wild here doesn't whisper, it roars. Glaciers crack like thunder. Waterfalls carve paths through time. And in the middle of it all, she waits. Motor Yacht Unbridled. A sanctuary of warmth and refinement in the heart of Alaska's untamed frontier. Bears wander the shoreline. Whales breach on the horizon. Seals nap on drifting ice while you sip champagne on the aft deck. This isn't a cruise, it's a calling, and only the bold will answer. Now booking your next unforgettable charter, yachtunbridled.com or through your preferred charter broker.
Top of the morning, folks. It's Captain Liam here, Motor Yacht Unbridled, currently in Port Angeles. We've got the lovely pleasure to join Marién from Puerto Rico. ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Muy bien, gracias. How are you today?
I am good, exhausted, but good. It's, so many time zones dealing with being in the Caribbean and then most of the people being in Europe and you're being somewhere else. So we're all over the place. Yeah.
Well, it's all
good. Excited to be here with you.
Thank you very much. All the shows, all the boat shows are starting to come up. There's Cairns, there's Monaco, there's Fort Lauderdale, and goes into Miami, West Palm. How do you, with those shows coming up and with social media such a big presence, how do you kind of manage your time? Do you go to any of these shows, or because you've got quite a famous presence?
I feel like I'm like the rebel. I have never been into any of the yachting boat shows. Obviously, I've been on them as crew because I've been part of them, but I've been in the industry since 2006, was a crew member until 2019, like constantly. And then went to land, hung my escort and, but still freelance a little bit. Until 2021, and then completely was like, okay, I'm not going to even renew my STCW. Like, there's not going to be a chance of me coming back at sea. Yet, still, some people are like, oh, you don't even need it. Like, come join us. We're private. I was like, okay, this is crazy. But with that being said, I never really enjoyed them when I was crew. And then when I became, a small business owner, obviously, I kind of thought, oh, it will be good, marketing or whatever. But it just doesn't feel right to me. Because for so long, I feel like now the boat shows are changing quite a bit and they're exposing the crew welfare and, mental health and like really not utilizing the shows only for the principals and, the vessel sale, chartering brokers, but like also bringing the crew, which are the soul of the vessel, right? And really the engine of it. Like if you don't have crew, you don't have a yacht, period. So, it's really awesome to see. And now I'm kind of getting excited and inspired to like potentially start going into the shows and sharing and all that. But I do a lot of my work is behind the scenes and I'm happy to do it because as long as I'm doing something that feels right to me, that's what matters. And for me, it's really not just sitting on a chair, having people view me and talk, but really doing and being at service in a way that really supports mainly the crew because I've been crew. So, with the shows, I don't really right now, they don't really do much to me. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but
or affect me, I would say.
Like you're saying, the shows are changing. And for people who don't know, you're a host of a show with, Uncensored. You're also Yachts Mermaids. There's so much to unpack here. But the one thing, what I'll say that I've noticed, Mary, if you don't mind, is the power you bring to the woman's voice is just beautiful. It is beautiful. I look at your website, I share it with my wife. You talk about different challenges that specifically women face in yachting. And you dive right down to the details of the cycles, the stress, the hormonal stress. You talked about gut imbalance.
I am an advocate of cyclical living because like I was mentioning, before we started recording, I did 8 years on board, like full time. And on my 8th year, I was dying. Like my body was shutting on me. Alcoholism was an issue, drug issues. Mental health, I was quickly declining it to the point where I had suicidal ideation. So like suicidal thoughts. And I remember This one time we finished charter in the Caribbean. It was the winter season, last trip, and it was my watch. Everybody went out. I was going home because I'm from Puerto Rico. We were in San Martin, so I was going home the next day. So I took the watch and I went out to the dock, and there were people from the other boat outside, and they gave me a glass of wine. I was like, oh, it's just one glass. Like, it's not going to be like anything bad's going to happen. And that one small glass of wine completely tripped me. Like, I was like super drunk because I was under nurture, completely tired.
Dehydrated.
I was burnt out, I mean, in every single aspect. So that small alcohol intake that maybe in a different occasion wouldn't have done much to me, it completely tripped me. And what ended up happening was I said to them, hey, because I was feeling kind of off, I was like, I'm going to go get a coffee. I'll come back out. Went to get a coffee, went to shower, pass out in the shower. My butt was shutting the drainage. So I got woken up a few hours later by crew members like, hey, wake up, because the entire cabin had flooded. Yeah. So, I mean, I can laugh about it now, but I had a lot of shame around it, before. And that was like a tipping point for me because, and I remember the next day coming out to the crew mess, and everybody was there, the captain wasn't there, but like chief officer, everybody was there. And everybody was laughing, not to make fun of me, but as like, oh, that was just like a silly thing. Like, it's fine. Yeah. And it really wasn't okay for me because I knew how fucked up I was. Yeah. Mentally, physically, I was like, I'm not okay. Can you guys see this? Like, this is not okay. I put myself in danger. I put yourself in danger. I was on watch. Like, this is not okay in any shape or form. Yeah. So that was the tipping point for me of thinking, I really need to leave and I need to take care of me. Because for 8 years, I've been giving everything to the industry. And I kept giving from a place of not being filled up, my own cup. So, and the 1 month off out of 12 months is not enough, No. So I never been on rotation before. So it was like, literally, you have to wait 11 months, 12 months, and then go 1 month off, Yeah. And it wasn't enough. And then I left, and for 2 years, I regrouped myself, did a lot of healing because I wasn't done with yachting. I was like, I want to come back, but I knew I had to do it differently. And that's when cyclical living, hormones, guts, all these things combined came in. And I talk about this because as a woman, we do face different challenges as men. Our bodies are differently. We have, different physiology. And the fact of the matter is now more than ever, especially with hormones, I'm 41. There are people, women, this is not just young girls in their 20s. Like when I started, I was like 20s. I'm sorry, after 35, your hormones are completely different. And it really does a number on your body and your mental health. So I want to obviously share that so people don't think it's just that your burnout is also physiology and you have to take care of that because it's like a combination of a lot of things. So yeah, I do definitely talk about a lot of things.
I do appreciate it. I think it's very brave of you. It's very vulnerable. And I'm kind of at that stage in my career now where I've lived so much and I've seen so much, 25 years in yachting all over the world. And it's not fair. It's just not fair the way we treat crew, especially females in this industry where we expect so much. I look at the team that we have on Unbridled and the girls, they're young, and it's like the amount of work they're physically doing. And, for example, the last charter, I had one priority. I said, the one priority for this charter, folks, is water. Drink water. Because I know it would be physically exhausting. Yeah. But I just wanted to see what the take was, a bit of a test for myself. They were all dehydrated. You could tell it. They were all not, where's your water bottle? No, it's downstairs. No, keep the water bottle there. And after 3-4 days of water, their bodies felt, you could see it. They were more positive. They were, more vibrant. They were more happy. And I was like, that's strange. Why such a simple thing can have such a positive influence? Yeah. Therefore, why aren't we focusing on helping these crew, male and female, to be at their peak performance if we're demanding the most from them? And that's kind of where I'm seeing the journey in yachting with companies like yourself at Yachts Mermaids going, you're focusing on this. Okay, people are focusing on mental health. People are focusing on physical health. How do we kind of bring it all together in unity? But I love the platform. I think it's awesome. Whereabouts in Puerto Rico?
San Juan, the capital.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Heaven. Beautiful part of the world.
And, you know, like you just mentioned the small things, and that's the thing. And it's true, you know, we expect the best of the best in the industry, but yet we don't support the people that are giving us the best of the best to be optimized, to be able to deliver at that peak. Because to be honest, we're delivering at a really high level with not optimization. So imagine what we can do if we would really be optimized. You know what I mean? Like next level, you know?
That's my thoughts. But as a captain, how do I, and I'm brainstorming with you, it's the way I kind of work is, as a captain, how do I do that? Because I want to sit down with my team and say, okay, it's Monday. Let's do a meditation. Let's go for a hike together. Let's prioritize our physical health and our mental health so we can perform at our best. That doesn't fit into a general yachting structure. Or can it?
You know, just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean it cannot be done. And that's where you have to be, you know, that type of rebel personality of like, I'm going to do it differently.
Yeah.
And see how it goes. Like, for example, when I came back after my burnout, I knew that part of the reason why I was struggling so much was because at that stage, I was like mid-30s. And I was going against everything my physiological body as a woman was doing. For example, men have a circadian rhythm, right? Like we all do, obviously. You sleep, you know, you wake up with the sun, you sleep at night. But women also have an infraradian rhythm. And that rhythm happens when you are fertile. So meaning when you have a menstrual cycle, right? Yeah. When you're a kid, you don't have it because you haven't yet done puberty. When you become, you know, you start bleeding, then yes, you have that infraradian rhythm. And then once you go into menopause, you don't have that anymore. So most of your life, that midsection, which you're going to be in yachting, more than likely or not, if you're in the super yacht industry, you're working against that rhythm constantly. Yeah. So because we're trying to do life as a man, right? Like most men, I mean, it's pretty, you guys are pretty steady across with the hormones and everything. Like the energy level is like pretty much, but we cycle through our, every week is a different type of cycle for us. So for example, I'm bleeding. I don't want to go out. I just want to, like, my body's releasing. I just want to be internal. But yet I have to go out, be happy, pretend I'm okay, right? Like I'm going against my natural rhythm. So then I start peaking again. And then I'm like more social. Then you get into ovulation and you're like, bring it. I can take on the fucking world, right? But then as soon as that happens, then you go back into your premenstrual and you're kind of like, you know, don't get, like the shadow side of that is like, don't talk to me, you know, like the bitchiness, right? That comes through. And that's just the shadow side of it because we're going against that infrared radiant rhythm that's naturally to us. So what I did, I was a rebel. I came back. I was like, fuck this shit. What I did wasn't working. I'm going to do it differently. I sat down with the first captain that I joined the vessel. And I said, listen, let's do an experiment. I'm going to create the entire interior department with the cycle of each woman. So for example, if you're bleeding, you're not going to be with guests. I'm going to make sure you're doing laundry. I'm going to give sure that you have extra breaks so you can really take care of yourself because you're more tired. You know, and it impacts women very differently, right? Like some women can take on the world because maybe they're a bit younger, so their hormones are not super crazy at the moment. But when you're in their 30s, like it's going to change. So I started creating the interior rotation cyclically. What happened? One, we were optimized. Yeah. We were not going against, so we were not like, we were not constantly tired. Because we were going with our cycle. Two, the men were no longer shaming us for having a cycle, right? Like, oh, you're on your cycle, or, you know, she's riding her bicycle, you know, all the nonsense that people say out of fear and out of uneducation, period. The men in the boat actually started wanting to educate themselves. Oh, and actually then they were like, oh, let me help you, because they knew we were very vocal of who was in what part of the cycle. So they knew who needed extra support. They knew who could take on the world at the moment. So it's like, Marién got it. She's on ovulation. She's good, you know? So it was a complete change in the crew and the atmosphere of how we work. So and that was just me saying, I'm just going to create the schedule and the rotation in mind consciously of the women's cycle. That's it. It's not that big of a deal, to be honest. It's very doable, because if you think, if let's say somebody gets sick, right? You got to step up. Doesn't matter what it is, right? So you can always give that extra crew member more breaks, the day off. It doesn't matter how busy you are. There's ways to work around it, because to be honest, people think that women sink at the same time, and it's true, but not on the same exact day.
Yeah.
So
no, you just started a yacht, or you know.
So we're always going to be in a different energy level. So then we can really create that system.
Yeah.
And for 8 more years, that's how I did yachting. And I was the chief too, right? So I was like, I'm in a position where I actually they're giving me the ability to create my own rosters, right? My own rotation, my own schedules. The captain doesn't care. As long as we do the job and we are performing, it doesn't matter how we do it, right?
Yeah.
So, and the fact that I was telling women, okay, let's talk about our cycle, educating them, because most women don't even understand their cycle.
Yeah.
And they hate it. And actually, it's something very empowering. So just being a rebel and doing things a bit different, just a little bit, doesn't have to be massive, does create a massive impact. And what we also saw was that the mental health of women completely upgraded.
Oh, fantastic.
Because the menstrual cycle has to do a lot with mental health of women. And this is something we don't talk in the industry. We're talking about mental health, but the woman's cycle has a lot to do with the mental health of a woman, completely different than a man. So, So, just little things. And like, for example, meditation. Yeah, it's not common, but I used to do that. I'm like, we're going to sit down and we're just going to breathe together,
With your team.
Yeah. And
it's
people
hard.
are more open,
Yeah, I'm very lucky in a lot of ways, because a lot of crew I work with, I try not to put too much pressure on. And a lot of times after a couple of years, I'll leave, go to another platform, and then I'll come back because I realize my long-term goal is healthy crew that can go to other programs and succeed, which means you have to accept a little bit of not failure. You've got to accept some mistakes in order for the growth. I understand that. You've got to have failure. You've got to have, I always have this saying, it doesn't matter how many times you hit the ball. It really doesn't matter if you score or you miss, as long as you hit the ball. Just keep trying to hit.
Yeah.
So that's a big area of vulnerability that you've identified, and I really resonate with that because it's something that I'm not familiar with. I'm really not. It's not in my wheelhouse, let's call it. I'm in the bridge now. It's not in my wheelhouse. But I'll bring that into the game, and I'll speak to the team about it. In terms of Yachts Mermaids, you were successful at sea. You were a wonderful career. What was the moment that you kind of went, okay, now it's time to go ashore, or let me try something different? Because you've always, like you're saying, you're being a rebel. And what I'm looking at with your website and your the show and the platform you've created is it's still a rebel. You're still there. You're still pushing boundaries, and I love it.
I mean, to be honest, I feel like I was married to the yachting industry. It was a marriage, and it was a divorce, and it was a very long, tedious, painful divorce. It took me, I would say, like 10 years of divorcing, of like I want to leave, but that back and forth. And a lot of people think that is because we have the golden handcuffs. And to be honest, money was never the drive for me to come back to the industry. I could have pretended that it was, but it wasn't. It was an identity crisis as well, because who was I if I wasn't the chief too? Who was I if I wasn't serving? Who was I if I wasn't at sea? I didn't know, because for so long, I just poured everything I had into this industry. My identity became intertwined with the yachting industry. So I had to really dig deep throughout my divorce and reclaim myself at so many levels in order to one day wake up and say, okay, I'm ready. There's fear, but I'm going to walk through the door of basically everybody calling me, hey, can you do the winter season? And I'm like, nope, I'm going to decline every single job opportunity. And by the way, which I don't think I have ever shared this, I had barely any money in my bank account when I made this. I had made a lot of money throughout my career. Thankfully, one of the big moments that I had to leave after 8 years for burnout, I was able to leave and thrive with that money, that I made for those 8 years. And I didn't have to work or, do that. But I always thought, I'm going to have to do that again, create all these savings, create all this in order to leave the yachting industry. And when I left in a completely different way. I didn't have that money, but everything in me was a full body yes, that it was time. I had done enough of the reclaiming of myself that I had my own identity separated from the industry. And I was like, I don't know how this shit's going to work out, how I'm really going to make money, but it's going to happen. And I got to trust. And I remember, my partner is a captain and he was like, but what's your plan B? I was like, motherfucker, there's no plan B. This is it. Like, we're going, like, plan B in the sense is like yachting is always going to be there, right? I can always go back to that. But for me, it was like, that's not even an option anymore. Like, I just got to, follow through. And money came.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
Abundance. Yeah. Actually, I make more money now than I was making before, So, and I work less. I do work in my own terms. I do whatever I want. I'm living the dream of, because what I loved about yachting was that we travel and we can work in so many places. So I have a life right now that I get the benefits of yachting that I loved, but also the benefits of not being part of such a demanding industry,
It is an identity crisis with yachting when you think about it. People get taken out of their home environments, put in a little petri dish, and are expected to perform at such a high level. How's it not going to have problems? You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. Like I kind of look at the demands. I go, how are we not going to have mental burnout? How are we not going to have physical burnout? And I think it's changed over the years. When I started 25 years ago, it was more about going to nice places, enjoying the crew, enjoying the clients, enjoying the environment. That was it. The demands over the years of just unrealistic expectations have got so great that the crew are just doing these 14, 16-hour days still. But the pace of the 14, 16-hour days, they hit the bed and fall asleep. Like, it's just that quick, rather than taking an hour to unwind, reading a book on the sun deck. We need to find those spaces,
Yeah, absolutely.
So you moved ashore. Puerto Rico is still a huge part of your identity, and also the yachting industry has really started to take off more and more in Puerto Rico. What are the developments you're seeing? Because you're an agent in Puerto Rico, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What we have been seeing now is that there is a new shipyard on the make. It's great because it's going to create local jobs, at the same time. It is quite sad that there's mainly other companies coming in to take over. And, it's sad because obviously I'm a local. So I'm like, we should be supporting local businesses from everywhere we go. Obviously, bigger companies are coming in and they're not even here on the ground. They're just like flying things. And last winter, I was just like putting fires out because these big companies, it's volume, it's not quality. So when they're not delivering, then I have to put the fire, which I'm happy to do so, because that's what I've been trained for the past 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Solution oriented. So, and I'm crew, so I know exactly how the crew member is thinking, their anxiety levels, their unregulated nervous system.
Puerto Rico's got everything. I mean, I love Puerto Rico. The challenge I think people face is they don't really have that patience to go through a couple more steps, because Puerto Rico.
Oh, a lot of couple more steps.
Yeah, I know. And it was like Dominican. I had 15 years in Dominican. Todo es posible, pero un chin complicado. Like, it's all possible.
Exactly. But a little bit complicated. Exactly.
A little complicated. So when packages arrive, they don't just arrive right at your doorstep on the yacht. They'll go to the yacht, they'll go to customs, the office, or it'll take a couple of steps to get to you. But no, I think Puerto Rico is unbelievable. I think Dominican Republic's unbelievable. These countries, although you're saying it does have some challenges, geopolitically, I think they're beautiful places in the world that people should be seeing more of from a yachting aspect, rather than the St. Martin or, those places.
It is obviously it's a bigger island, and there is a lot of nature. If people are into like hiking and diving, waterfalls, like the inner island, like we have the biggest amount of rivers in the Caribbean. So there's a lot of that, and it's beautiful. The culture, I think that's one of the biggest things, the culture, the music, the dance, like there's a lot to be seen here, but I feel like it's more for the adventure soul.
Yeah.
Not the type of people that want to be seen in Saint-Tropez and some bars, That's not
true, actually. That's where it changes.
It's more of like a
you've got a huge marina there now. You've got, I still love Club de Pesque. The boats I'm on are getting bigger and bigger, so they don't have it in there anymore. But I'm like, that was still my favorite place to go. I don't know why.
We do have that safe harbor now in San Juan, so obviously a lot of big boats can go there.
Yeah, and it's perfect. It's right downtown. So
exactly.
All right, and then Yachts Mermaid, what's coming up in the next 2 to 5 years? What are your thoughts?
Oh my God, that's too long. That's too far for me.
We're just waiting for Christmas.
What's coming up, to be honest, I've been working a lot behind the scenes with the movement of SASH, being an advocate for sexual harassment and assault on board. So there's been a lot of that behind the scenes, kind of like trying to figure out how to make it better for the industry, how to support those in charge, and how to support, obviously, the crew that have gone through that, and potentially how to mitigate this from continuing to happen as much as possible, because, it inevitably it will happen at some point. But so we're working on that, on like really educating people. You're part of one of the groups that I'm part of with the Crew Safety Forum. Great conversations. I think this was really needed to really just kind of come together, because I feel like in the yachting industry, by design, it's designed to be an isolated industry, because it's a private industry. When you're on a boat, you want to be private, you want to be isolated. Crew get isolated on board. Like everything is revolved around isolation. And there's a big community, but I feel like even the big community that there is still quite divided. So now with this kind of forums that we're part of, and we're coming together as an industry, and those who really have the same values and care about the welfare of the industry as a whole, not just the crew, because what we do for a crew, we're also supporting the principals, the stakeholders, like they're going to be supported through all this because their money matters as well, right? Like, so basically we're working behind the scenes with people like you, with other people like Karine Raisin and Caroline from Superyacht Guidance. I mean, there's everybody, like PYA, like everybody's involved in this. And I think we're just really having conversations that were overdue on how we can really sustainably move forward, because it's going to take all of us. It's not just one person here, one person there doing. Obviously, as an individual, you're going to do what you can from where you're at. I'm going to do what I can from where I'm at. But we also have to come together and together, like, create that movement, because it is inevitable. Change is inevitable. If there is one constant thing in life, it's change. So it's going to happen. It's going to take time. It has taken time. But I can tell you, 2006, I started. The yachting industry is completely different from when I started. Yes, there's similar issues, bigger issues sometimes, but it's completely different. So
very much so.
It's going to continue to change and develop, and hopefully get more regulated and more support, and more people are going to start doing the right thing, because I feel like a lot of time it comes down to social responsibility of doing the right thing.
It has changed a lot. I've got to admit, I'm 45 now, and I love going to sea. I love doing this. But even now, this last 12, 24 months with social media, and I'm learning as much as I can about that, and it's a positive influence a lot of times. But even I'm going, all right, I've got to sharpen my skills here, whether it's with Karine at the Crew Coach, or whether it's platforms like yourself, or those different, the groups we're a part of, the safety community and things. I think it's important captains keep realizing that we are the ones to blame for so much. And that's a hard thing to say, because really your pride is everything. But I see things and I hear things that I'm like, I didn't expect that on other boats, or on this boat, or on different platforms. And I hear these stories because I'm asking now more. And I'm like, that's horrible. That is horrible. How can a young girl go through crying every day because of verbal abuse?
Mhm.
Like, that's horrible. That's criminal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it's happening in industry. So for me as a captain, my biggest thing is third-party oversight. I am screaming for it. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
please, people, ask the crew irrelevant of the captain from a management perspective, from an owner perspective, ask the crew, is there any issues? And then hopefully it's none. But I know there's going to be 1 out of 10 boats that someone says, you know what, this situation happened and that really should be looked into. And whatever the outcome is the outcome. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Whether it's civil or criminal. But I think the accountability is a tough one in the industry too. Where's the accountability? You know, where's the
Exactly.
governing body? Is a flag? Is a country? That's the battle where
Yeah.
I think people are taking advantage of us as in crew, us as in humans, us as an ex-crew, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no accountability. And that's why there's a lot of the issues that we have, because what you allow will continue. And we have allowed many, many things that are not okay to continue. So, that's where we're at. But now we're screaming from the top of our lungs, like, hey, we need change. We need to do this, but not immediate. It's not going to be immediate. It's not going to be a quick fix. It's going to take a long time, a lot of strategy. And like you said, a lot of seeds have been planted in you. And now you're questioning, hey, I thought I was doing that right. Can I make it better? Where were my blind spots?
Yeah.
Okay, well, can I use this? Okay, that didn't work for us. Can I use that? Because a lot of the times captains are horrified about these situations that they're listening to. Oh, that never happened on my boat. And to be honest, it happens in all boats to a certain degree, but a lot of captains are not even aware that it's happening.
Mm.
Because
we say in our world is, and this sounds wrong, but I just want to be transparent. Our world is dealing with owners, dealing with brokers, dealing with, long-term things with the vessel, platforms and programs and trying to improve and looking after crew. We don't see everything. And then by the time it gets to us, it's filtered.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
No, and I want to, like, for example, I have a client and they have a DPA, they have manager, they have everything, right? I trust the captain, we talk about everything and anything. And I'm the recruiter on that vessel. And I told the girls that were put on this vessel new, I told them who their DPA was. I did everything that the captain was going to do anyway, but I also did it because I know the boat from inside out. Yet, even when they were told, given instructions, everything, a situation happened on board that I wasn't expecting at all to happen on that vessel, but it did happen. And she came to me. So I was happy that she felt safe enough to come to somebody to tell her. When she told me, I immediately was like, okay, we need to tell the captain because he needs to know. This cannot escalate without him knowing. So I told the captain, he spoke with her, and she came back and said, you know what, Marién, thank you for telling the captain, because to be honest, I have issues with authority figures. So even though I was told to talk to the captain, there's open door policy, my own traumas weren't going to allow me to do that. So this is another aspect that we have to look at, right?
Yeah, true.
All people have different traumas, different things. So this is why I encourage all crew to self-develop. And what does self-development means? To literally look at yourself from the inside out and start working through whatever issues, because we all bring childhood issues, we all have triggers. We all have survival mechanisms, and imagine a bunch of strangers with all these survival mechanisms. I mean, it's a ticking bomb, right?
Oh,
so
it's a petri dish.
A lot of these miscommunications come only from this. You told me something, my survival mechanism kicked in because it triggered my childhood issue. And now I have an issue with you. When in reality, it had nothing to do with what happened between me and you. It was just a trigger that was going off on me, So self-development. So each person has to self-develop. It's going to take all of us. It's not just going to be having all the things that a boat should have in order to run perfectly. That's part of the equation. It's not the entire image,
Exactly. And the goal is positive. The goal's positive to get the results for the client to have a healthy crew. And they go hand in hand. Like you can see a crew when they're unhealthy and negative and they're kind of loping around and not positive. And you can see a healthy crew where they're getting on, they're exercising together or they're doing certain things. They're transparent and the owners feel that and the clients feel that. And that's the backbone of our industry. But how can people get a hold of you? What's your leaving message for everyone out there?
Oh my God.
Visit Puerto Rico. Learn to dance. Learn salsa, bachata, merengue.
For me, I think the main message is, educate yourself. Education is power. That's the biggest one, especially when it comes to the legal side of yachting and crew rights and, all that. Education is power. And I think, you shouldn't wait until something bad happens to you to educate yourself. You need to start now to mitigate issues. And also, if you are encountering something, then you have the right tools and information to maneuver it, That's the biggest thing. And that's for everybody, crew, management, everybody has to educate themselves in everything. And you guys can contact me at yachtsmermaids.com. And that's it. Here to support.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for being vulnerable. I appreciate it. I'm from Motor Yacht and Bridal here currently in Alaska, getting ready for next season. We'll see what the winter brings us. But I implore everyone to reach out to you. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. You've even given me insight into the hormonal balances and the different cycles. And that's something that, as a captain, I don't have to understand all of it because I don't think I will all of it, but I've got to respect that space and not treat females or women like men because, like you're saying, men are pretty stable, hormonal. Women, it's not, and we have to treat them in that way and give them the space and the tools they need to succeed because it's such a huge part of our industry.
Thank you.
Be blessed, be safe, look after yourself.
If your brand belongs in the heart of the yachting world, this is where it happens. Yachting International Radio reaches over 1 million yachting professionals and enthusiasts every month with 77 million impressions, 220,000 social followers, and 74,000 podcast subscribers. Our hosts are insiders, crew, captains, CEOs, trusted voices shaping the industry. This is targeted, high-impact advertising in a luxury niche. Visit yachtinginternationalradio.com/advertise. Your audience is already listening.